Hey, welcome to a new edition of Local Focus with Sebastian Noel. I'm your host. Today we want to talk about the current landscape of sports in APS and Los Lunas and the mess that has created. There's a lot of news, that has come out around that lately. There was a protest on Sunday, obviously, that students led, and we'll show you a little bit of that later. Actually, we had a chance to catch up with the organizer of that event. So we'll go over that. So obviously what led to that protest was that APS didn't budge, right, and no hybrid model, and so athletes would still not be able to play. That's what led to that protest, right? The board members were supposed to have another secret meeting after that, where we hoped that there would be a change, but there wasn't a change. So we're going to talk about that. Essentially, what you have with this board is, it's supposed to be a nonpartisan group of adults to represent the best interest of these kids. But that isn't really what, these people are cowards is basically what I'm saying, okay? And we're going to get into that a little bit. And, well, we were going to let you meet some of those people because I'm going to tell you when their terms are up. I'm going to tell you the special interests that they're really serving. I'm going to tell you later in the show how easy it is actually to recall a board member. People don't know that that's a possible avenue. Well, it is. But let's go back to, these people are cowards, which I really do believe. They go to have their secret meeting, and instead of, a sports show, and I'll use a sports analogy that Coach Brandon Back has used on the radio lately and on some of his public comments, but, it's up to the coach to make halftime adjustments, right? So the board had a chance to make a halftime adjustment. They could have very easily said, well, we're going to institute the same process everyone else is, right? A process that started in Las Cruces because, big surprise, the leadership came from down south in the state again, right? Because we have such a vacuum of leadership and integrity up here. It had to start in Las Cruces. The superintendent came up with a model that would adequately address the needs of the PED, right? I think they call it the Internet Cafe model, right? So it's a voluntary hybrid model. The school's still available for students to use the internet there to go to their online classes that they like, and that's just enough to qualify for athletics, right? That's the model that everyone's kind of tailored to their own way. That's how Rio Rancho and Cleveland will get to play. That's how Santa Fe will get to play, right? But this group of cowards, instead of adjusting and saying, yes, we'll make the halftime adjustment, we'll institute the same policy that every other district is instituting. No, they instead, I'll use another sports analogy, they chose to punt. They said instead, well, we're going to send a strongly worded letter to the governor asking her to decouple, which, that's not the first time that the governor's asked to decouple hybrid from athletics, right? And so that's it. That's all they came up with, is a strongly worded letter. Which reminds me of actually one of my best friends. Whenever I complain about something, he always would make fun of me and say, well, why don't you write a strongly worded letter? And that's essentially what this board of cowards is doing. So I did want to bring in a student perspective for this, and I thought who better to talk to than Tyler Kiehne, who is affected by this in Los Lunas. And Tyler, welcome back to the program. And I know you're not an APS student. By the way, for the record, we did invite APS Superintendent Scott Elder to the program today. I did hear back from him initially, but we're not able to schedule his appearance yet. I haven't heard back. I don't know if he wants to come on the program. I will continue to reach out to have Scott here and bring another student athlete in, and because I think that would be a real interesting perspective. Scott, I think, is a pro athlete guy, but I would love to get his perspective. And then as we move forward, we are going to invite some of these board members on, but I guarantee you not one of them will show their face on this program. Things happening in your neck of the woods down in Las Lunas, right? So talk about that.
Yeah, so I don't remember when it was. Probably about 2 or 3 weeks ago, the whole football team, every team pretty much was practicing and just waiting for the board to approve sports and fall sports mainly. And we were all looking forward, and all our coaches were pushing us, saying, "We're going to be able to play. Just wait till the board meeting and all this stuff." And then the board meeting came, and they decided against it. And so, we were always just given a false hope, week in, week out, that we were going to be able to play and that we were going to be able to compete for a blue trophy and just suit out one last time with our guys. But they lied to us, and it just never happened.
Did you see that decision coming? I mean, did you guys think you were going to play? Did you see that decision coming down that way, or was it a shock?
It was honestly a shock because most of us were we were waiting, and
Right.
our coaches told us to just wait on it, it's gonna happen, just wait, and it was a shock because we were all sure that we were gonna be able to play, and there was honestly no doubt in our minds that we were gonna be able to play, just because since August of last year when they told us that we were gonna play in the spring, we had just had that in our minds that okay, we understand COVID, but we're gonna be able to play and we're gonna be able to go prove ourselves one last time, but.
Traditionally, your school district down there, or your board down there, I mean, I gotta admit, I'm not surprised that this happened in APS, right? And nothing shocks me with APS, especially with the power of the teachers union here in Albuquerque. But I mean, I think it came as a surprise that your district went that way, right? What were coaches saying? Were they surprised?
Yes, all of our coaches were surprised just because, like I said, that they were always just saying, just keep looking forward, it's going to happen. And then I remember when the decision was made after the board meeting, our coach just sent out a text to all the players just saying, "I'm sorry. I fought for you guys, and, we tried everything we could, and, there's still some hope. If APS changes their mind or if the governor says something, there was still some hope." But he just said, "I'm sorry. I really thought that we were going to be able to play," and he was just heartbroken is what he told us.
Well, the governor. You brought up the governor, and I have to say, today, I mean, the day we're shooting the show is a Wednesday, and I get a text today from the Albuquerque Journal Alert, right? Lobos are cleared to play at home. After there's no more home games left, the Lobos are cleared to play at home. Some of the stuff that comes out of Santa Fe, you can't make this stuff up. And I know you've spoken about that. So, I mean, did you think that the governor would kind of bail you guys out? Did you hope that APS would bail you out? I mean, what were you thinking? Or did you kind of realize the finality in all this?
Well, I mean, I learned pretty early not to count on the governor for really anything. She's always one of those people who gives false hope, oh, we're going to do this and we're going to get better, but it never happened. And then once that decision was made, it was, for all of us almost, it just shut every
Right.
ounce of hope out of us, and we knew that it wasn't going to happen.
Right. And we're going to take our first break with Tyler here. What I want to get into, though, is you chose to stay for your senior year. A lot of other seniors, your Sam Carrolls, your Chance Harris, they chose early enrollment on campus, right? I know Chance is already at CSU. So I want to get your opinion on that and if or how much regret in that decision. So our first time out, we'll be right back with Tyler Kiehne.
Well, I'm going to the frontier, walking to the cashier, order up a root beer and a number one. Cover it with green stuff, one scoop is not enough. Find a booth is real tough, back by the Duke. Meet my family, meet my friends in the quirkiest restaurant I have ever been. All of Albuquerque's favorite spot, it's the Frontier Restaurant.
The Frontier Restaurant is a proud supporter of ProView Sports Network. Don't sacrifice quality and flavor when you're in a hurry. Golden Pride offers ribs, fried chicken, green and red chili breakfast burritos, and Frontier Cinnabons. 4 great locations, or visit us online at goldenpride@abq.com. Golden Pride Barbecue Chicken and Ribs, proud supporter of ProView Sports Network.
The New Mexico High School Coaches Association, established in 1941, is an organization of New Mexico's best and most professional interscholastic coaches. Coaches across work daily to help our student athletes excel in the classroom, on the field of play, and in our communities. Students that participate in interscholastic activities attain higher grades, higher graduation rates, and higher wages. Responsible for the North-South All-Star Games, statewide Coaches Award Program, and providing multiple professional development opportunities for New Mexico's coaches. Be a great coach by coaching beyond the game.
Back with UCLA bound Tyler Kiehne, we were talking about the state of affairs in Los Lunas and within APS of, those looks like those will be the 2 districts on the outside looking in. And what I wanted to ask you about was, you chose to stay for your senior year. What went into that decision?
I think just getting to stay home and spend time with family and my girlfriend and friends, and being able to suit up one last time with my guys. Those are the kids I've been playing with since I was like 7 years old. All of my best friends that I've always played with. Like, football gave me all of my best friends, so I was just looking forward to spending one last year here, trying to win a championship here, because we've fallen short so many times, and just trying to make more of an impact on my community. So That's really why I stayed. Any
regrets now that you see that some others have enrolled early, and with, let's just assume there's not going to be a season. If there's not going to be a season, regrets at all, or?
Not really. I mean, I'm really let down that we don't get to play, but I don't regret staying just because I get to spend that extra time with my family and with my girlfriend and all that stuff.
The other news this week is that Amari Brown, one of the most high-profile incoming basketball players, is leaving the state to play out of state because of this. How badly has leadership here failed you guys?
Very badly. Like, New Mexico as it is already overlooked.
And you've always made that point.
Always.
You've done a great job illustrating that point always, so go into that.
So, like, if you think about it, like, all the highest recruiting states, it's like California, Texas, and Florida, and pretty much any other state other than New Mexico, like, just by being on a varsity team, you're going to get looked at by colleges just because it's already highly recruited. But here in New Mexico, like, it's so hard to get recruited just because, like, a scout will be looking through a list and be like, oh, New Mexico, and then he'll just skip on it just because New Mexico doesn't have that type of, like, reputation as, like, California does. So we're already down at the bottom of the list, right? So now, like, we don't even get a chance to prove ourselves. We don't even get a chance to go play and, like, get film or impress a coach or something. And, like, Amari Brown leaving, he just like when I was playing, there was teams who came and watched me. Coaches who came and watched me and saw my film and probably noticed other players on that film.
And that's my point in the whole thing, right? Is like Amari's gonna Amari no matter what, whether he's in state or out of state, right? But the amount of coaches, I would imagine close to 100 coaches that would have come in here in those 4 years. There's a good chance they would have maybe noticed his opponents, someone else on his team, right? So there's a lot more to it, right?
Oh yeah, there's a lot more. Like, there's just so much that goes into it. It's like if you pull one guy up, he's gonna pull guys up with him, and like it's just like a ripple effect, I guess you could call it. Like,
right.
Yeah.
So when it comes to these board meetings and these decisions, like, do you guys feel that you have a voice at all in that room? No. Well, I think this would be a good time to look at this video that we got for you. So Connor Baca is a football player at El Dorado, and he's the one that organized the rally on Sunday. And Josh, if you could get that up for us, he shares your opinion that basically they don't have a voice in the room, and that is one of the questions that I asked him. So let's take a look at that. What influenced you to get this organized?
Seeing the other states that had their seasons taken from them, their protests and the way they've reacted to it, and how they got it to the rule changed. They protested just like this, and that we took our influence from that.
What will be next? What would you like to see next come out of this?
Next, the what would be great would be, APS giving us a hybrid model so we can get back into school. But obviously, it's kind of hard with the bigger district, as big of a district as APS is. So the PED decoupling the rule that ties hybrid and athletics would be great, but we're just going to keep pushing.
You watched that board meeting. Do you feel like you guys have a room or a voice in that room at all?
Not at all. I think the board members, they're a little out of touch with us, and I think there was one advocating for us, and I can't remember her name, but she was advocating for us, advocating for high schoolers. But I do feel like our voices aren't being heard by them, and I feel like I said, they're a little out of touch.
When you hear that statistic that 66% of teachers don't want to go back to work as a student, how does that make you feel?
A teacher's job is to support a student, and I think our teachers are doing the best that they can, and I understand how they feel intimidated by COVID, and it's obviously a very real and dangerous thing. But at the same time, I think when looking at the statistics, 16,000 APS students are failing right now, and students just aren't succeeding in the online platform. So I think if teachers really wanted us to succeed and wanted the best for us, that they would go back in.
Yeah, your thoughts, reactions to any of that?
Completely agree with him. When I watched the Los Lunas board meeting, there was nothing said about the students. There was nothing said about student athletes or students or anything about grades, about like how many kids are failing. Like none of the student was mentioned. Like all it was just about like teachers being scared to go back or something like that. I don't remember exactly what it was. I'm not saying that all teachers are scared to come back, but there was no mention of students at all.
Right. And, that is the funniest thing about a school board is supposed to be, I looked on the website of the national school boards, and their purpose is supposed to be to serve you guys, right?
Mm-hmm.
The kids.
Yep.
But I think what those members realized is that you guys aren't old enough to vote, so they don't give a damn, right?
Yeah.
Who's old enough to vote? Teachers,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I think, and you're going to get to meet some of these board members in the next few episodes. I'm going to throw their pictures on the screen. I'm going to throw their phone numbers up on the screen. I'm going to tell you a little bit about them. For example, one of them used to be a political outreach director for the teachers union. So obviously that's the constituency she's serving. It's not the students. So somewhere in this whole process, they figured out, well, students don't vote. So maybe they're not as important as all the other interests that we're serving, right? And I know Connor had that same opinion. So let's go back a little bit, though. I mean, you didn't just start talking about this now. You had a pretty impassioned and I thought very impressive speech at a rally a few months ago in Santa Fe, right? So let's talk about that.
I think what I said and what I was going in there thinking, I was just gonna like get everybody to feel the student side of things. Like I just said that like more students have died because of suicide than COVID this year, and like since COVID's been a thing, like so many students are failing that we're already the worst in all of the best categories as a state, and the best in all the worst categories. Like we're number 2. I mean, we're second in like dropout percentage and like second in like incarceration percentage or something like that. So I just really touched base on that and just like asked like, why aren't we getting a choice? Like,
but you did it.
Why aren't we
incredibly well? I mean, you can. I think you can YouTube that speech. It's on there, or on friends of yours. Obviously, it's on your Facebook. But you went. You said, "Hey, this governor behind me here, because it was in Santa Fe. You've got blood on your hands."
Yep.
So you said those exact words, right? So talk about that.
Yeah. I don't remember the exact statistic or the exact number, but there was something about like, I think now it's close to around 20 student athletes alone that have committed suicide just because like sports is such a big role in their lives. I talked to this one coach and he said if he wouldn't have played his senior year, he wouldn't have gone to college, he wouldn't have gotten a scholarship. He probably would have been in prison because that's the route he was going down. So without playing football his senior year, like, I mean, us without playing this year, like I was just trying to get the point across, like it's going to impact us a lot more than we think it's going to. Like we understand the risks of COVID and the dangers of COVID, but like you also have to see the other side of things where like you're dealing with kids' futures and kids' lives. And like I said, she has blood on her hands. Like she has caused more damage in this state than any disease could ever do.
Let's pick that up right after the timeout. We're with Tyler Kiehne.
Lovato driving. They're going to count it. Gallegos. Ooh, a little spin and a finish. Here's Natalia Chavez. Good spin. Takes it.
Here's Ramos. Nice jump stop through the.
Maybe gambling a little bit. Oh, there's that.
Hill, little step, high window. And
Got the second.
the middle. Here we go. 3.9. It's Cooper's going to run with it. Cooper's going to swing it out to Lowry. Lowry. Portillo couldn't get it off, and Clovis. It's waved off. He did not get it off in time. Portillo. Reverse layup. Gallegos spins. Window. Finishes.
There's a run coming from.
Lazy pass. Here comes Crawford. It might be showtime. Sam. Tyler Kiehne is my guest. We were enjoying that top 10 of basketball play. I would assume your basketball days are over, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, well, you can go to the games at beautiful Pauley Pavilion, right?
Yes, sir.
That's a first place team Coach Cronin has there, so so that's good. We were talking about that amazing speech you gave in Santa Fe, and I mean, just talk about that whole rally. I mean, because that was a pretty big thing.
Yeah.
That was well attended.
Yeah, there was a lot of people, and it was. I didn't really want to speak, but like, the closer I got to the day, the more I like wanted to, and like wanted to give out like my opinion and share views that I know that other people have that share with me. You know what I mean? So like, there was. How many people do you think were there? Like 2,000 or 3,000. Like there was a lot of people, and it was in front of the office, the governor's office.
Yeah.
So it was good, and people were loud, and there was screens, and it was cool.
And I mean, did you kind of see after that people? I mean, people watched that speech, and did you? I know people were retweeting information like your speech and stuff like that. Did you feel almost like kind of like a burden, like you were speaking for almost a state of student athletes, because you really, I mean, you did such a good job, and it was such an eloquent speech. Did you feel an added burden of like, hey, I'm speaking for all these guys?
Yeah, I did, like, especially once it got closer and closer to the date, like I knew like that what I said would impact other people, and that a lot of people were depending on me, like a lot of student athletes who didn't have that opportunity that I had to speak and like to share my opinions. I knew that I had to represent everybody. So like, yeah, I felt like the weight on my shoulders, I guess you could say.
And not only was it on all the local news, but I think didn't UCLA put it out in some of their stuff too? So like, it was a big deal, wasn't it?
I think I was in the Los Angeles Times for that, I think.
Right. So that's a huge deal. I mean, what are you thinking about? Maybe going into political science there at
No.
UCLA? And what are you going to be studying?
I don't like. I mean, I like talking about politics, but I
Right.
can never get into it.
No.
But did you ask what I was going to get into?
Yeah. Well, I mean, because that's obviously a really good political science department there at UCLA, and but what? So not leaning towards that, huh?
No, I come from a family of entrepreneurs
Right.
and hustlers, so I'm going into business.
Right. So let's go back to. I mean, where's your mind at as far as Las Lunas? Do you think there's any chance at a reversal in the next couple of days, or has the finality kind of already hit you?
I think it's over pretty much. There might be a little bit of hope, but it's so slim that I don't think it'll happen.
And one thing that struck out to me at that rally there is the masks. Like I go on public a lot, and you kind of see certain degrees of mask usage, right? You see a lot of the chin masks. You see a lot of, things like that. But one thing that stood out to me that Sunday was like it was 100% correct usage, so like. And that was a theme that these guys were making. It was like, hey, just give us a chance to do this right. Like, and you obviously, we're not downplaying COVID at all, and you've mentioned that before. How have you guys changed everything you do there in Las Lunas to make sure, you guys are safe?
Yeah.
And if the day would have come, I mean, what were you guys doing differently to prepare for that?
We were all wearing masks. We had to social distance in every drill. Like, we really couldn't compete with each other. We were just trying to, like, stay in shape and keep our distance and keep everybody safe, keep our masks up so, like, our coach wouldn't get in trouble. And, like, even though it was killing us, like, it's so hard to breathe with a mask on while you're trying to run and do sprints and all this stuff. But, like, we were trying to, and, like you said, everybody was willing to do it if they would have just given us a chance. We were willing to do whatever they said. Like, if they said you have to wear, like, 3 masks, I'm sure that all of us would have done it if we would have gotten the opportunity or the chance to even prove to them that we could.
Because I've had some coaches tell me, like, hey, this is a good, this would be a really good thing for our guys because it would force our guy, if let's say you got one knucklehead on the team that wants to go out on Friday night, it would force the guys to say, no, man, you can't ruin a whole season because you want to go out tonight. Like, coaches were really looking forward to their guys proving that they could handle this. Talk about that.
Yeah, and when that was going on, like, some dudes would say that we're going to do this, we're going to do that, and we would be like, no, like, we got to get this right, and people would be goofing off in practice and not doing what they were supposed to be, and everybody would get on them, not just the coaches, all the players, and the kids who wanted to play, they'd just be like, hey, like, get this right, we're not going to mess this up, like, we really want to play, and we want to get this right, so, like, everybody was holding each other accountable.
More accountable than ever before, would you say that's fair?
Yeah.
What, and so let's go back to, again, the New Mexico piece, right? I mean, obviously it has to be frustrating when the state of New Mexico is always last and everything, or is not playing when the other states are around you are playing, right? Talk about how frustrating that is being from here.
Yeah, it's tough. Like I said, New Mexico's already last, and now this is just putting us, instead of 5 steps behind, now we're 10 steps behind. So I've always said that we have to work twice as hard to get half the look that other places have. So now it's just like we don't even get a shot. Like,
right. And then, so now the governor comes out with, again, like, there's a turquoise level now. Don't ask me to explain that. Lobos can play home games now that their season's over, But, and then now, but it's got to be even more frustrating now when you can say, when you can look up on a Friday night and say, okay, Rio's playing, Cleveland's playing, Artesia's playing, Hobbs is playing, right? But my school district's not playing. APS is not playing. Las Lunas is not playing. That's got to be a whole nother level of frustration. Talk about that.
Yeah, when you say that, I just think of my friends or the football players or the athletes at Cibola or about Volcano Vista, where you drive 20 minutes, 15 minutes down the road and you come to Rio Rancho and they're having a game there, but you can't. Like, that doesn't make any sense. And back in the fall, 6 miles across the border from Hobbs, there was a high school football team playing football. But here in Hobbs, it's like, it just doesn't make sense.
Right. And I think Coach Back kind of put it best when he said, like, they're not asking for anything experimental or new. They're just asking APS to do what everyone else is doing.
Yeah.
That's got to crush you as a student athlete, that your district is one of the 2 that just can't figure it out like everybody else.
Like, just like the whole state, we're like 1 in 50 that's not going to play football this year.
Right.
Like the districts, I mean.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
right.
Like, they obviously can do it, and they're states with much larger populations, like, obviously bigger issues because of the larger populations, and, like, we can't get it right. Like,
well, we're running out of time here, Tyler. I knew you'd be the perfect guy to bring in for this. Thank you so much for coming in. Again, we did invite Superintendent Scott Elder to this program. We have heard back once, but not since. We'll continue to send that invitation out. Also, we're going to start having some fun next week because you're going to get to meet these cowards that serve on the APS school board. You're going to get to meet each and every one of them. I'm going to tell you when their terms are up, and if that's too long and you want to recall them sooner, I'll tell you how you can do that too. Thanks for watching, and good night, everybody.